Welcome back to the Buddhism Podcast, where today, we will delve deep into one of the most profound and transformative concepts within Buddhist teachings: compassion and its crucial role in mastering our emotions and maintaining inner peace. Have you ever found yourself overwhelmed by stress, frustration, or anger? Maybe you've struggled with keeping your composure in challenging situations or even found it hard to remain calm during a simple disagreement. If so, you're not alone. Life's demands, pressures, and unexpected challenges can easily provoke intense emotions, but what if I told you that the key to emotional control doesn't lie in trying to suppress these emotions, but in cultivating something much more powerful? That key is compassion. In Buddhism, compassion is not merely an emotion or a passive feeling of sympathy, it's an active, transformative force that can change the way we experience the world. It goes beyond the surface level of kindness or empathy and becomes a foundational practice that allows us to create space between ourselves and the emotional turmoil that arises in our daily lives. But how does this work? Why is compassion so central to emotional mastery in Buddhism? The Buddhist approach to compassion is rooted in the concept of karuna, a profound sense of empathy that arises when we recognize the suffering of others and are moved to alleviate it. However, before we can extend compassion to others, we must first cultivate it within ourselves. Self-compassion is the cornerstone of Buddhist emotional mastery. It involves being gentle with yourself, especially in moments of failure or struggle, rather than being harsh or self-critical. It's about understanding that, just like everyone else, you are deserving of kindness, patience, and love, even in your most vulnerable moments. When we develop compassion for ourselves, we start to break free from the cycle of emotional reactivity. In Buddhism, emotions are often viewed as fleeting and impermanent, just like the weather. They come and go, but we don't need to be swept away by them. Compassion allows us to observe our emotions without judgment or attachment. When we face moments of anger, frustration, or sadness, instead of pushing them away or allowing them to control us, we can embrace them with compassion. By simply acknowledging the emotion without resistance, we create a sense of space that enables us to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. In practical terms, cultivating compassion in daily life helps us develop resilience. Think about the times you've faced challenges, whether they were personal, professional, or interpersonal. The ability to remain calm and collected in such moments doesn't come from repressing your emotions or pretending that everything is okay. It comes from practicing compassion, both toward yourself and others. When you are compassionate toward yourself, you can accept that it's okay to feel upset or hurt. And when you show compassion toward others, it allows you to approach difficult situations with understanding rather than judgment. Buddhism teaches us that suffering is an inevitable part of life, but the way we respond to suffering is what truly defines our experience. Compassion helps us transform suffering into an opportunity for growth and wisdom. Instead of viewing emotional pain as something to avoid or fight against, we can embrace it with the intention of learning from it. Compassion gives us the strength to face life's difficulties with grace and dignity, knowing that even in the hardest of times, we have the capacity to be kind to ourselves and others. This practice of cultivating compassion is not an abstract or theoretical concept in Buddhism. It's a daily practice that has a profound impact on our mental and emotional well-being. It involves developing mindfulness, which is the ability to be present with our thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations without judgment. Mindfulness helps us observe our emotions as they arise and gives us the space to respond with compassion instead of reacting impulsively. It encourages us to be aware of our emotional patterns and tendencies, allowing us to address the root causes of our stress or anger rather than simply dealing with the surface-level symptoms. Furthermore, compassion doesn't just help us maintain our calm in stressful situations, it also fosters deeper connections with others. In a world where people are often quick to criticize or judge, showing genuine compassion can create bonds of understanding and empathy. When we approach others with a compassionate heart, we create a safe space for them to express their emotions, knowing that they won't be met with harsh judgment. This helps to build trust and rapport, which can be incredibly healing for both parties involved. In summary, the practice of compassion in Buddhism offers us a pathway to emotional mastery and peace. It teaches us to approach our emotions with understanding and patience, allowing us to maintain our inner calm even when faced with external challenges. By cultivating compassion, we not only transform our own emotional lives but also contribute to creating a more compassionate and harmonious world. So, whether you're dealing with personal stress, relational conflicts, or simply the ups and downs of life, remember that the power of compassion both for yourself and others can be the key to maintaining your peace and finding true emotional freedom. In Buddhism, compassion, known as karuna in Sanskrit, is not just an emotional response to the suffering of others, it is a transformative and active force that serves as one of the fundamental virtues of the Buddhist path. At its core, karuna goes far beyond the surface-level expression of sympathy or pity. It embodies the deep desire to relieve suffering and to actively seek ways to reduce the pain and struggles of those around us. It is an antidote to the negative, self-centered emotions that so often cloud our judgment and prevent us from achieving inner peace. Emotions like anger, fear, resentment, and hatred. In a world where these feelings are rampant, compassion offers a way to dissolve the barriers that keep us trapped in cycles of emotional turmoil. At first glance, karuna might seem like just a simple act of kindness, but in the context of Buddhism, it is much deeper and more profound. It is a mental state, an attitude, and a practice that helps us shift our focus away from the narrow confines of self-interest. Instead of viewing the world solely through the lens of our own needs and desires, compassion helps us step into the shoes of others, viewing their suffering with empathy and concern. This act of stepping outside ourselves and recognizing the interconnectedness of all beings is the very foundation of emotional mastery in Buddhism. The practice of compassion is inherently selfless. It encourages us to move beyond the ego-driven responses that so often dominate our lives. In moments of frustration or anger, it is easy to become consumed by our own reactions and to lash out in defense of our ego or perceived grievances. But compassion teaches us to pause, to create space between stimulus and response, and to choose an action grounded in kindness rather than impulsive emotion. In this way, compassion helps us maintain emotional balance, reducing the influence of unchecked feelings and preventing them from leading to destructive behaviors. In Buddhism, emotions are not seen as inherently bad or wrong, rather, they are viewed as natural aspects of the human experience. However, it is our attachment to these emotions and our identification with them that creates suffering. Anger, jealousy, and fear are examples of emotions that, when left unchecked, can distort our perception of reality and lead to negative outcomes. Compassion, in its purest form, allows us to transcend these emotions by fostering an attitude of understanding and care. When we respond to others with compassion, we are less likely to react out of anger or fear, and more likely to approach situations with a calm and clear mind. One of the most powerful aspects of compassion is its ability to build emotional resilience. Life inevitably presents us with challenges, difficult conversations, conflicts, personal struggles, and unforeseen circumstances. In such times, it's easy to become overwhelmed by negative emotions. Compassion, however, offers a way to remain steady and resilient in the face of adversity. By practicing compassion, we learn to accept the imperfections of life and to embrace the difficulties we face with a sense of equanimity. This doesn't mean that we become indifferent to the suffering of others or to our own struggles, rather, it means that we develop the ability to meet these challenges with a calm, open heart, and a mind that is not clouded by the turbulence of reactive emotions. Furthermore, practicing compassion creates a shift in the way we relate to the world around us. Instead of focusing on our own needs, we start to see the suffering of others and feel motivated to act in ways that help alleviate it. This could be through small acts of kindness, offering a listening ear, or simply being present with someone who is struggling. But the impact of these acts is profound. Not only does it help others, but it also deepens our own emotional intelligence. By choosing kindness over judgment, empathy over indifference, and understanding over frustration, we strengthen our own emotional resilience and ability to stay grounded in the midst of life's challenges. In the practice of Buddhist compassion, we also learn the importance of self-compassion. It's easy to become so focused on helping others that we forget to care for ourselves. But Buddhism teaches us that self-compassion is essential for emotional balance and peace. If we can't show kindness and understanding toward ourselves, it becomes difficult to offer it to others. This means being gentle with ourselves in moments of failure or difficulty, recognizing our own vulnerabilities without judgment, and treating ourselves with the same care we would offer a close friend. When we practice self-compassion, we create a solid foundation for emotional stability that allows us to navigate life's ups and downs with a greater sense of ease and clarity. Compassion, therefore, becomes a key element in achieving emotional mastery in Buddhism. It teaches us to regulate our emotions by responding to them with understanding, patience, and kindness. It helps us overcome the ego-driven impulses that often lead to conflict and suffering. And, most importantly, it provides us with the tools we need to cultivate peace, both within ourselves and in our relationships with others. By actively practicing compassion, we begin to experience the profound inner calm that comes from embracing the suffering of others and ourselves with a heart full of empathy and care. In conclusion, karuna, or compassion, is not just a passive feeling or reaction, but an active force that empowers us to move beyond the limitations of ego and reactivity. It is a powerful antidote to the harmful emotions that plague us and is central to Buddhist teachings on emotional control and peace. By practicing compassion, we not only help to alleviate the suffering of others, but we also create the conditions for our own emotional resilience, allowing us to remain calm and centered no matter what life throws our way. So, whether you are facing personal struggles, relationship challenges, or simply the stresses of daily life, remember that compassion is the key to staying emotionally balanced and maintaining your inner peace. Through compassion, we can cultivate the emotional strength needed to navigate life's complexities with grace and mindfulness. Cultivating compassion for emotional mastery, a Buddhist approach to emotional control and inner peace. In the fast-paced world we live in today, where emotions often run high and circumstances can leave us feeling overwhelmed, the quest for emotional mastery has never been more crucial. As we seek stability in our hearts and minds, the Buddhist teachings offer profound wisdom on how we can gain control over our emotions and achieve lasting inner peace. One of the most powerful tools to achieve this goal is compassion, a key component of Buddhist philosophy. Through the practice of compassion, we can develop emotional resilience and learn to maintain calm and clarity, even amidst life's most challenging situations. In Buddhism, compassion is not just an abstract concept, it is a transformative practice that begins within and radiates outward. The Buddha, in his teachings, emphasized the importance of cultivating a heart full of compassion first for oneself, and then for others. This idea is beautifully captured in the Buddhist meditation practice known as metta, or loving-kindness meditation. The practice of metta is a simple yet powerful method to cultivate a compassionate mindset, which ultimately helps regulate our emotional responses. At the core of metta meditation is the belief that before we can truly extend compassion to others, we must first learn to love and care for ourselves. Self-compassion is not an act of self-indulgence or narcissism but rather a conscious decision to treat oneself with kindness, understanding, and patience. Often, we are our harshest critics, subjecting ourselves to unnecessary suffering through negative self-talk, guilt, or self-judgment. However, Buddhist teachings remind us that we are all worthy of love, and we must start by giving that love to ourselves. So how can we begin to cultivate self-compassion? The first step is to set aside time for stillness. Sit quietly, breathe deeply, and allow yourself to become present in the moment. As you focus on your breath, silently repeat phrases such as, "May I be happy," "May I be free from suffering," or "May I live with peace." These words, when repeated with sincerity, begin to penetrate the depths of our consciousness and awaken a sense of compassion within. Initially, it may feel foreign or difficult to truly embrace these words, especially if you are used to being self-critical. But as you continue to practice, your heart begins to soften, and a deep sense of inner peace slowly starts to emerge. The beauty of metta meditation lies in its ability to expand. As you cultivate compassion for yourself, you can gradually extend it to those around you, starting with close family members and friends. Then, in true Buddhist fashion, you are encouraged to direct your compassion even towards those you may find challenging or difficult. This may seem like a tall order, but in doing so, you begin to release any feelings of resentment, anger, or frustration. By practicing loving kindness toward others, you shift the focus away from judgment and move toward understanding and acceptance. Why is compassion so crucial for emotional mastery? When we cultivate compassion, we begin to regulate our emotional responses in a more mindful and controlled manner. In the face of stressful situations, rather than reacting impulsively or out of anger, we can respond with a calm and compassionate heart. The more we nurture this compassion, the less we are governed by negative emotions such as fear, anxiety, or rage. Instead, we become anchored in the present moment, guided by the wisdom of our compassionate heart. In addition to metta meditation, Buddhist practices also encourage the cultivation of mindfulness as a way to maintain emotional balance. By practicing mindfulness, we train our minds to stay present and aware of our emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them. Whether it's through mindful breathing, mindful walking, or simply being present in each moment, mindfulness allows us to observe our emotions without judgment. This helps us avoid becoming consumed by them, enabling us to choose our responses rather than react impulsively. The connection between compassion and emotional control is not just theoretical, it is backed by science as well. Studies have shown that engaging in compassion-based practices can lead to increased levels of oxytocin, the love hormone, which fosters feelings of connection, trust, and emotional well-being. Furthermore, compassion practices have been linked to reduced levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, indicating that cultivating a compassionate heart can actually lower stress and enhance our ability to manage difficult emotions. Ultimately, emotional mastery through compassion is about recognizing the impermanence of our emotions. In Buddhism, it is taught that emotions are not fixed or permanent, they come and go like clouds in the sky. When we view our emotions from this perspective, we no longer see them as overwhelming forces that control us. Instead, we can observe them with a sense of detachment, knowing that they are temporary and that we have the ability to respond with wisdom and compassion. Through the practice of compassion, we learn to be more patient with ourselves and others. We become less reactive and more mindful of the emotions that arise within us. We create space for peace and calm, no matter the external circumstances. This emotional mastery allows us to navigate life with greater ease and harmony, free from the turbulence of uncontrolled emotions. In conclusion, cultivating compassion is an essential practice for emotional mastery. Through the Buddhist practice of metta meditation, we learn to develop love and kindness toward ourselves and others, which directly influences our ability to control and regulate our emotions. By integrating compassion and mindfulness into our daily lives, we become less reactive to the ups and downs of life and more attuned to the peace that resides within us. As we cultivate a compassionate heart, we begin to transform not only our own emotional experience but also the world around us. In this way, compassion becomes not just a practice, but a way of life, a path toward lasting emotional freedom and inner tranquility. In the often chaotic and unpredictable landscape of our daily lives, it can feel as though emotions control us, rising suddenly and receding just as quickly. Whether we are dealing with stressful situations at work, challenging relationships, or internal self-doubt, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the intensity of our emotions. However, in Buddhist teachings, there is a timeless truth that offers a profound solution: compassion. Compassion, when fully cultivated, becomes the key to emotional mastery and maintaining calm and peace, no matter what life throws our way. Buddhism teaches us that emotions such as anger, frustration, and fear are not permanent states. They are transient, like clouds that temporarily obscure the sun. These emotions may arise, but they do not have to define us. The key to not being swept away by them is understanding their impermanence and transforming them through mindfulness and compassion. It is in this transformation that we discover the true power of emotional control. In the practice of Buddhism, emotions are never seen as inherently bad or something to be suppressed. Rather, they are viewed as natural responses to life's events. The challenge lies not in eliminating these emotions but in learning how to respond to them skillfully. Through compassionate awareness, we can break the cycle of reacting impulsively to emotions and instead choose to respond with clarity and mindfulness. Compassion helps us to release our attachment to these emotions, allowing us to observe them without judgment and move beyond their grasp. At its core, compassion in Buddhism is about understanding suffering, both our own and others. By acknowledging that everyone, including ourselves, experiences pain and discomfort, we naturally begin to develop empathy. This empathy forms the basis of true compassion. When we are compassionate toward ourselves, we treat our emotions with care, instead of harshly criticizing or rejecting them. Instead of letting anger or frustration fester, we acknowledge these emotions, sit with them, and then gently let them pass. In doing so, we build resilience and emotional stability. Let's consider a practical example. Imagine facing a difficult situation at work, where deadlines are tight, and tensions are high. If we react impulsively, perhaps snapping at a colleague or succumbing to stress, those emotions may spiral out of control, affecting our work and our relationships. However, by practicing compassion, we take a step back. We acknowledge that the situation is stressful, but we don't need to let it define us. We breathe, center ourselves, and offer compassion to both ourselves and others. By doing so, we can approach the situation with a calm mind, making decisions with clarity and wisdom, rather than with the knee-jerk reaction of frustration. Similarly, when facing challenges in relationships, compassion provides a grounding force. Instead of reacting to someone's behavior with anger or resentment, we can pause and remind ourselves that they, too, may be struggling with their own difficulties. By extending compassion, we are not excusing harmful actions, but we are choosing to rise above reactive emotions and engage with the situation in a way that fosters understanding rather than conflict. Buddhist teachings emphasize the importance of mindfulness in the cultivation of compassion. Through mindful awareness, we learn to observe our emotions without becoming consumed by them. Mindfulness enables us to recognize when emotions are rising within us, be it anger, jealousy, or fear, and allows us to choose how we respond. In moments of heightened emotion, mindfulness provides us with the space to breathe, reflect, and choose a response rooted in wisdom rather than impulsivity. It's important to note that emotional mastery in Buddhism is not about suppressing emotions. Suppression only leads to the buildup of unresolved feelings, which can eventually cause harm. Instead, Buddhism teaches that we can transform our emotions through understanding and compassion. This process allows us to maintain inner peace, even in the face of adversity. When we cultivate compassion, we shift our focus from being victims of our emotions to being empowered individuals who can respond to emotions skillfully. Compassion teaches us that we are not our emotions, they are simply passing states of being. This perspective frees us from the tyranny of our emotional reactions, allowing us to act from a place of peace rather than chaos. Take, for example, a moment of self-doubt. Many of us have experienced that inner critic, the voice that tells us we are not good enough, that we will fail, or that we are unworthy. These thoughts can be paralyzing, creating a cycle of fear and inaction. But through the practice of compassion, we can approach the self-doubt with kindness and understanding. Instead of berating ourselves, we acknowledge the fear and gently remind ourselves that it is a natural part of the human experience. We then shift our focus to self-compassion, telling ourselves that we are worthy, capable, and deserving of success. Through this simple but profound practice, we transform self-doubt into an opportunity for growth and self-empowerment. When we respond to ourselves and others with compassion, we no longer feel at the mercy of our emotions. Instead, we begin to master them. Compassion gives us the strength to face life's challenges with grace and poise, knowing that our emotions are not our masters but our teachers. Through the transformative power of compassion, we find the clarity to navigate life with a calm mind and a peaceful heart. In the grand scheme of Buddhist practice, emotional mastery is not about eliminating emotions or achieving a state of constant happiness. Instead, it is about developing the ability to face whatever emotions arise with equanimity, wisdom, and compassion. It is about learning to be present with our feelings, without being swept away by them, and responding in a way that fosters peace rather than turmoil. Compassion, therefore, is not just a practice, it is a way of life. It is the foundation of emotional mastery and the key to maintaining calm and peace in every moment. By practicing compassion, we can navigate life's ups and downs with resilience, understanding, and grace. We learn to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively, and in doing so, we create a life of emotional freedom and tranquility. Compassion doesn't just help us control our emotions, it transforms our entire approach to life, helping us create deeper connections with others and a more peaceful, fulfilled existence.